Hello, my lovely primary 4 students. We will start lesson 5 of starting and stopping concept. Today we will have the last activity of learn section. Then we will start share activities to record and share all the information we studied in this concept. We have learned a lot of information about force, energy, friction, gravity, motion, and the factors that act on it. Do you remember my question about what work is? And how can we define the word work in science? يا ترى إيه تعريف كلمة الشغل في الساينس؟ هل هي كلمة scientific أصلاً ولا لأ؟ We will learn about that today. Get your student book, notebook, and pen to start our lesson today. The word work is used a lot in our lives, like when you say my father goes to work and my mother does the housework, or when you do your homework. All of these daily life activities are described the word work. So what do we mean by work in science? Work is very simple. It happens when you can make a change. لما بقدر أعمل تغيير ده معناه كده إن أنا عملت work، إن أنا عملت شغل. Like moving this toy from its place. If I have this toy here and I moved it from its place. يبقى أنا كده عملت إيه؟ يبقى أنا كده عملت work. طب if it didn't move, that means what? If I did work, يعني لو أنا قعدت أزق كده بس هي ما اتحركتش، هي كده أنا عملت work? This means that we didn't do work. Exactly بالظبط زي ما بنعمل في البيت. وأنت في البيت لو مامي قالت لك خش وضب أوضتك، دخلت الأوضة وقعدت تلعب وعملت effort بس ما وضبتش أوضتك. So, for you to say that there is a work that has been done, you must see a change. طيب. To know more about work, we will start activity number 11. Observe like a scientist. In Observe like a Scientist, we will read the text on page 155. And do not forget to observe and record your ideas about what does work mean and how work in science differ from our daily use of the word. Can you identify how does the text define the word work? Work is the energy transferred by force used to move the object for a specific distance. تعالوا الأول نلزق كلمة work و energy على ال vocabulary wall. What is the relation between the word work and energy? يا ترى إيه علاقة الشغل بالطاقة؟ وإيه علاقتهم كمان بالفورس؟ They call some of the activities and tasks we do work because they require energy to be done. يعني إحنا أي شغل هنعمله بيحتاج مننا طاقة. يبقى energy is needed to do the work. And what about the relation between work, energy, and force? We have said before that any object need a force to move. زي this truck. عشان أحركها لازم apply force. طيب عشان أقدر أعمل force يبقى لازم يكون عندي energy. تمام؟ طب طالما مكانها اتحرك يبقى أنا كده عملت إيه؟ يبقى أنا كده عملت work. طيب الفورس اللي أنا بعملها ممكن تبقى إيه؟ Maybe it's pushing or pulling. In order to give an object a force, you need energy. Think of the times where you saw a broken car on the road. لما شفت عربية عطلانة في الطريق كان إيه اللي بيحصل؟ The car can be pushed to move a little bit of a distance and this requires force from the person pushing it. لما بنشوف عربية عطلانة بنحتاج إن احنا نزقها عشان تتحرك. طب عشان أزقها يبقى أنا هعمل force. وطبيعي طالما أنا هعمل force يبقى لازم يكون عندي energy to be able to do this force. Let's draw a chart that links these three terms. We will start with the word energy. I'll draw an arrow out of the energy which causes force. لو أنا عندي energy يبقى هقدر أعمل force. So the energy causes force. Then an arrow shows that force causes work. لما بعمل force هيحصل change. This means إن أنا كده عملت work. We still can record more observations that help us in learning about work, energy, and force. كده احنا ابتدينا نفهم relation ما بين كلمة energy, force و work بطريقة بسيطة. I want you to focus well on the situations you will see now and record your observations. تعالوا بينا نشوف الفيديو ده، عايزاكم تبقوا مركزين في التفاصيل.
She's gone, you get it?
Come on, kids. Let's get the rest of this stuff unloaded. Let's put the mini fridge over there.
Man, this fridge is so heavy, I can't even move it. Sure takes a lot of work to try to move it. Let me see if I can help you with this. You know, because you can't move the fridge, you're not really working. Just trying to move things from one place to another takes energy. But if you don't move the object, you're technically not really working, even if you are using energy. Yes, I am. I'm working really hard to try to move this fridge.
Yes, but work is done when a force makes an object move. You need three things to do work. You need a force, you need an object, and that object needs to move.
For instance, when I pick this up and put it on the table, I am doing work because I am the force that moves this to the table. I get it. So you are the force that moves the can to the table. That's right.
Okay, kids. I'm trying to move this table to make a space for our tent, and it sure feels like I'm working hard. But am I really working?
Well, let's see. You're using force to lift the table, which is the object, but the table isn't going anywhere. It doesn't have movement. So I guess even though it's a big job, you really aren't doing work?
It sure feels like I'm working.
Yes, but you're missing one of the three things that define work.
We observed two situations in the video. A situation in which work was done, and in the second situation, we made an effort, but there was no work done. إزاي كده؟ إزاي مرة أنا عملت effort وحصل work، ومرة تانية أنا عملت effort برضو بس ما حصلش work. So, can you identify them? Yes, that's right. When the girl tried to move the fridge, does she do work or exert effort without doing work? لما البنت حاولت تزق التلاجة، عملت work ولا عملت effort من غير ما يحصل work؟ Yep, she exerts only effort because she tried and got tired, but there is no work done as nothing moved or changed. طالما ما حصلش تغيير يبقى ما اقدرش اقول ان في work حصل. البنت حاولت وعملت مجهود عشان تزق التلاجة بس هي تعبت وفي الاخر التلاجة ما اتحركتش. طالما ما حصلش change يبقى no work is done. But when the boy picked the box from the ground and put it on the table, he consumed part of his energy. So it made him able to do work and its impact was clear on the change of position of the book. أكيد حصل تغيير بقى في السيتويشن التاني لما الولد شايل البوكس وحطه على التيبل. هو كده عمل energy وفورس، والفورس دي كمان سببت work لأن حصل change في البوزيشن of the box. If some of you still think that energy is the same as force, you need to rethink again. Force and energy are related to each other, but they are not the same thing. تعالوا بينا نكمل. Let's get back to the broken car example. When the person pushed the car, he exerted effort that requires energy from his body to move the car from its place. So the force we practice on something can transfer the energy from one object to another. افتكروا تاني لما اتكلمنا على العربية اللي كانت عطلانة. لما عملنا عليها energy العربية دي اتأثرت بالفورس واتحركت. ده معناه ان الانرجي بتاعت جسمي اتنقلت للعربية وهي اللي سببت لها الحركة. In the example of the broken car, work is the energy transferred to the car because of the force used by the person to move it for a specific distance. If this distance is longer, for sure the person needs to do more work and he then would use more energy. طبيعي لو أنا عايزة أحرك العربية دي المسافة أكبر، ده معناها إن أنا هحتاج أعمل work أكتر، يبقى أنا لازم هيكون عندي more energy exerted. I'm sure that you can search for different examples around us that can clarify the relation between the three terms اللي هم مين؟ Energy, force and work. And you can share them on our مدرستنا Facebook page. Now, we are ready to start sharing activities. We will record all the evidence we collected about starting and stopping concept to use them in writing the scientific explanation and understand the different applications. Are you ready? Let's start. Do you remember the first thing we always do in share activities? دايما بنبتدي ايه في share؟ Yep, we go back to the investigative phenomena that we start our concept with. This will be in activity 12. Record the evidence like a scientist. We are going to watch a video about the truck and the jet. فاكرين الفيديو بتاع التراك والجت لما أخدنا الإنجن بتاع الجت وحطيناه في التراك وشوفنا إيه الإيفكت اللي حصل. I want you to think well about the answer to the question of how do forces act on a starting and stopping object? دلوقتي هنبتدي share activities. ودايما في الشير اكتيفيتيز بنرجع للانفستيجيتيف فينومينا ونبتدي نتكلم عنها تاني ونشوف ازاي هنفسرها دلوقتي بعد ما اتعلمنا في الكونسبت كله معلومات تانية. المرة دي هنتفرج على الفيديو وهسألكم بعدها تقدروا ازاي توصفوا الفورس، القوة اللي بتخلي الاوبجكت تتحرك والقوة اللي بتخلي الاوبجكت تقف.
This is Shockwave, the world's fastest truck.
Are you ready? Let's do this!
And to prove it, here it is racing a fighter jet.
3, 2, 1. Hit it! The jet's way out front, man. Hitter's gonna, oh no, no!
Did that truck just drive past a plane?
Whoosh. This terrific truck was custom built and driven by father-son team Neil and Chris Darnell. So how is the truck faster than a plane?
This truck is called the Shockwave, and it reaches speeds of up to 344.7 miles an hour or 554.7 kilometers an hour. This is seriously fast. That's over 100 miles an hour faster than a NASCAR.
It's not a normal truck. Pretty much everything has been taken away except for the cabin.
The truck reaches these speeds because it has 3 jet engines on the back, producing 36,000 horsepower or 19,000 pounds of thrust.
Now, to put that into context, imagine 36,000 horses galloping. Amazing. A big challenge with the truck is keeping it on the ground because these are jet engines and they're more associated with things that fly.
So, to keep the truck on the tarmac, they've angled the engine such that the truck is being pushed down. This makes the truck effectively 1,000 pounds heavier or 450 kilograms heavier. The final challenge is getting this thing to stop. It's actually got 3 air parachutes, which is how they stop the space shuttle as well. They deploy, create lots of air resistance, and slow it down.
With that much power, this plane doesn't stand a chance.
Now that was a blast.
If I asked you to describe what's meant by force now, which sentences you will use? And how would they differ from your earlier understanding? Remember that we learned different types of forces in the concept, and you can use what we knew together in answering the question in page 156. It's time for the scientific explanation. Of course, we used to write the scientific explanation in the last concepts to answer the question of can you explain or any other question you recorded in activity 2, Wonder. Let's go to page 157 and identify the question. You will make a scientific explanation to this question. Then, record your claim and the evidence about the truth of the claim. Of course, the pieces of evidence will be from the observations and interpretations you wrote and recorded since the beginning of the concept. أكيد الكليم بتاعك supported بالevidence. الevidence ده هكون جمعته من اللي انت اتعلمته في خلال الconcept. Let's see what some of one of your colleagues wrote. He claimed that the object would start to move when the force that acts on it is unbalanced. فاكرين قبل كده اتكلمنا عن أنواع القوة وقلنا إنها يا إما بتبقى balanced or unbalanced. And his first evidence is that the door will stay closed unless a person push or pull it to open. The second evidence is that the ball moves when there is a pushing force. أكيد الكرة دي مش هتتحرك خالص من مكانها إلا لما أنا أعمل عليها pushing force. And it will stop when it hit the wall. تاني، عشان الأوبجكت يتحرك لازم يبقى فيه force applied عليه، وعشان يقف يا إما هيخبط في حاجة زي الوال، يا إما هيبقى فيه force في opposite direction اللي هي friction force that will slow it down then stop. Our friend's answer remind us of tug of war game. فاكرين tug of war game؟ لعبة شد الحبل. We studied before. We knew that the rope move when the pulling force of one of the team is greater than the other team. لازم يبقى الفورس في تيم أقوى من التاني to apply an unbalanced forces. So the rope will not move if the force of the two teams is of the same size. وأكيد لو كانوا two teams بيعملوا نفس الفورس في اتجاهين مختلفين طبعا أكيد كان الروب مش هيتحرك لأن وقتها الفورسز كانت هتبقى balanced قوة متوازنة. Let's go back to our book page 158 and record the scientific explanation about the question we chose. I choose the question of how do forces act on starting and stopping object, and I wrote my explanation in 3 points. Objects require a force to move them. Force can be pushing or pulling forces. The stable objects are affected by balanced forces, which means equal forces and opposite in direction. معنى البالانسد forces إن هما لازم يبقوا equal بس في opposite direction. حد بيشد يمين والتاني بيشد شمال. The object starts to move when an unbalanced force acts on it, which means unequal forces. Unbalanced, unequal. A truck that is in stationary state. التراك دي دلوقتي in stationary state. يعني ايه stationary؟ يعني في حالة ثبات ما بتتحركش. It's affected by which type of force? Excellent. Balanced force. And in order to move, that force need to change. So I need to apply force عشان أغير حركتها. That truck must be stopped by a force that pull it backward or decreases its speed, like friction force. أخدتوا بالكم من تعريف كلمة friction force؟ بيقلل السبيد أو slowing down of objects عشان يوقفها. The friction of the parachute helps stop the truck. لو فاكرين في الفيديو كانت سرعة التراك بقت كبيرة جدا فكان لازم نستخدم باراشوت مع الفريكشن فورس اللي في الجراوند عشان نقدر نوقف التراك. We proved in our hands-on investigation that when different forces push the car, there will be changes in the car motion because of the change in energy. As we recorded the evidence we collected, it's time to evaluate our knowledge of the whole concept. This will be in activity number 13. Evaluate like a scientist. Our activity is entitled Reviewing, Starting, and Stopping. Use all the information you collected and go back to page 159 and explain how forces act on a starting and stopping object. After finishing the last activity of starting and stopping concept, we can begin discussing all what we have learned with one of our colleagues or family. بعد خلاص ما رجعنا كل حاجة تعلمناها وازاي الأوبجكت بتتحرك وبتقف، عايزاكم بقى تبتدوا تتناقشوا في ده مع زمايلكم. If we think again about the wheelchair, do you remember the wheelchair we saw in concept 1? How are wheelchairs designed to allow users to move and keep them safe? Can you think of other vehicles that have similar features to wheelchair? يا ترى في حاجات تانية في وسائل النقل زيها زي الويلشيرز بتوفر safety أمان للناس اللي هيركبوها ويستخدموها؟ This discussion is an important chance to show your ideas and hear new ones. At the end of each concept as we get used, we will answer questions to check our understanding. Let's see the first question. Okay, the first question is, imagine you are in a car riding on the highway. Select the object that you can look at to let you know the car is in motion. هنا بنتخيل موقف إنك على عربية في طريق سريع وعايزاك تعمل select تختار الحاجات اللي هتأكد لك إن في حركة. We should review first together how do we know an object isn't moving. Yes, that's right. When we compare its motion with a stable object. فاكرين لما كنا بسألكوا إزاي اتأكدتوا إن الكرة اتحركت؟ رسمنا على البورد صورة شجرة وإنت كنت تحت الشجرة وصاحبك بعيد. لما الكرة بعدت عن الشجرة كده اتأكدنا إن حصل موشن. اشمعنى اخترنا الشجرة؟ لأنها stable أو stationary objects، يعني حاجة واقفة ما بتتحركش. Let's see the phrases. The first selection is the soccer ball is sitting in the seat next to you. Of course, it's not correct because the ball next to me moved with me in the car. The second selection is the sign of the highway telling you the speed limit. عارفين اللوحة اللي بتبقى مرسوم فيها السرعة دي لو عدينا من جنبها هنعرف إن إحنا كده بنتحرك؟ I think that the speed sign on the way is right. Yes, it's stable in its place like the trees in the street. While you are in a car riding and it's moving, you will find that the tree move backward. In fact, the trees do not move, but you are moving forward. واحنا في الشارع لما بنمشي بالعربية بنحس كأن الشجر بيمشي لورا. هي الشجرة بتتحرك؟ لا، الشجرة ثابتة بس أنا اللي بتحرك forward. That's why we feel that the trees move, but actually they are stable. So when we move while we are in the car and the sign is stable, we can identify that the car is moving. So we will make a check next to this phrase. The third selection is the can of soda in the cup holder inside the car. لو أنا حاطة can of soda, can of Pepsi مثلا جوه العربية. The car is moving and the can is moving with me like the ball. It's not correct. The fourth selection is the light pole you see out the window. اللي هو عمود النور. Of course it's stable so that we can identify the car motion through it. So we will make a check next to this answer. The last selection is the parked car that you pass on the road. It's stable so that we can know that the car is in motion. So we will make a check beside this phrase. Did you observe what we did while answering the question? هل جاوبنا السؤال كده ببساطة وبسهولة ولا فسرنا كل حاجة؟ وقفنا عند كل point وترجمناها. We observed the situation. الأول فهمنا السؤال وتخيلنا الموقف. And we analyzed the phrases. كل sentence ابتديت أفكر فيها وأشوف كده هي تقصد إيه بالظبط. Then we used the evidence to choose the correct choices. Let's see another question. تعالوا نحل مع بعض question number 10. أهو. Maria is pushing a big box. David comes to help her. How does this change the force and motion of the box? ماريا بتزق البوكس وديفيد جه ساعدها. Looking at the choices, we should analyze the question well. قبل ما نبتدي نروح للchoices لازم أفكر في السؤال كويس. Maria is pushing the box with a specific force. Then David come to help her. How can David change the force that acts on it? The first choice is it. It doesn't change the force or the motion. تفتكروا لما ديفيد جه يساعدها لو في شخص إضافي بيساعدني كده أنا مش هغير الحركة؟ Do you think the help of one more person will not change the force or motion? Of course not. It will make a change, so it's a wrong choice. The second choice is it increases the force and decreases the motion. Let's think. Will the force increase? Yes, that's right. Will the motion decrease? Decrease معناها إنها بتقل. Of course not. Because we made this in our investigation. And so that when the pushing force of the car increase, the motion energy increase and the car move further. This is a wrong choice. The third choice is it increases the force and increases motion. بتزود القوة وتزود الحركة. Yes, the force and motion will increase together. This is a correct answer. But let's see the last choice first. The force decreases and increases the motion. This ensures that the third choice is the correct one because the existence of help or additional force, it will not decrease the force, it will increase it. You can continue answering the questions to check your understanding of the concept. And you can share also your answers and questions with your colleagues in the class. And you can send them to مدرستنا Facebook page. عايزاكم وانتوا بتحلوا تعملوا زي ما احنا عملنا كده بالظبط. لازم تعملوا analysis للسؤال، تفهموه كويس وتحطوا نفسكم جوه السيتويشن. ميزة الكونسبت ده ان هو بيحصل لنا دايما في حياتنا، دي مواقف في حياتنا. فتفكروا ازاي الحاجة دي لما بتحصل لنا بيحصل ايه؟ الفورس بتزيد، الفورس بتقل، بنحتاج طاقة اكتر، طاقة اقل، هنتحرك اكتر مش هنتحرك. لازم تقارنوا ده بحياتكم. In this concept we have learned how do forces act on starting and stopping objects. تعالوا بينا نريكاب. اتكلمنا النهاردة على الwork وقلنا ان الwork معناه ان انا لازم يحصل change وربطنا ده بالانرجي. When we do energy الانرجي هتخليني اقدر اعمل فورس، والفورس دي لو هي عملت effect وغيرت حاجة يبقى انا كده عملت work. لو ما حصلش اي change يبقى كده ما حصلش work. ما تنسوش ان كلمة work وكلمة energy من key vocabulary عندنا. وكلمنا عن نوع من انواع الانرجيز kinetic energy. It's the energy of moving objects. Are you ready to explore more about how the moving objects get energy? This is a very important question because it will be the next concept we will learn about. Thank you all primary force scientists who joined us today. Goodbye and see you next time.